Welcome to Guitars and Bacon. My name is John. So you're looking for your first microphone. Don't know whether to start with the condenser or the dynamic. Let me help you out with that. By the way, if you want to talk about gear, music, recording, or guitar playing, we talk about that stuff in my stream. Check me out on Twitch. I stream every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 5 a.m. EST to 7 a.m. EST. That's 5 p.m. Philippine time.
Guitars and Bacon.
The stressful yet fun time of picking your first microphone. Let's talk about the differences of both. What is a dynamic mic? I won't get too much into the technicalities of it. In a simpler context, dynamic mics are actually better at capturing loud and strong sounds. It also tends to limit what it hears to what is closest to it. It's actually a great microphone for live setting because it prevents other sound sources from interfering with each other's microphones, thus preventing a very muddy mix. Dynamic microphones also tend to have a very warm sound, which makes it a favorite amongst radio stations and broadcasters. If you're listening to someone on the radio with a very deep voice, there's a good chance they're actually using a dynamic mic such as the Shure SM7B. Where else are dynamic mics used for? Dynamic mics are also excellent at recording loud and aggressive distorted guitar sounds coming from your amplifier. It's also a very common tool used to mic up different parts of your drum kit. Common applications would be the snare, the kick, toms, every now and then cymbals as well. Another popular use for dynamic microphones is for recording growled or screamed vocals. The nature of dynamic microphones, which tends to tame the highs and add more bottom end to the sound, is really great for this application. Examples of popular dynamic microphones are Shure SM57, Shure SM58, and Shure SM7B, all which have their own different characteristics, which makes it really great for different applications. As an example, the Shure SM57 is quite used frequently in recording guitar amplifiers, and the Shure SM58 is a great live vocal mic. Although don't be afraid to mix them up and try to experiment. Ola England from the band Feared, who's also a very famous YouTuber, is actually known for using his Shure SM58 to mic up his cabinets. So don't be afraid to mix things up and try to find your sound. Well, how about condenser mics? Unlike dynamic mics, however, condenser mics require 48 volts of phantom power for it to actually function. In turn, it makes it very sensitive to sound, and it lets it hear far more detail at greater distances. Well, compared to a dynamic microphone at least. Now I have both microphones set up within close proximity to each other, so there will be less variables in regards to recording the sound. I'm starting off first with the condenser microphone. This is me using the condenser microphone at about 1 feet away. This is me using the condenser microphone at about 2 feet away. This is me using the condenser microphone at about 3 feet away. Notice the proximity effect where my voice gets a lot more bass just by getting closer to the microphone. This is me using the dynamic microphone at about 1 feet away. This is me using the dynamic microphone at about 2 feet away. This is me using the dynamic microphone at about 3 feet away. Notice the proximity effect adding more bass into my voice as I get closer. Some condenser mics actually even have the capability to switch polar patterns, such as switching from cardioid to omnidirectional, which lets you record what's around the microphone, with it being in the center. It's great for recording choirs, which limits the number of microphones that's in play. Also, unlike dynamic microphones, condensers tend to have a very bright sound, which can be really good for capturing minute details of the voice. That's also one of the reasons why every studio pretty much has at least one condenser microphone. It's great for just recording singers. Condenser microphones are also great for recording acoustic guitar. Acoustic guitar tends to sound its best when it's actually mic'd up and not plugged in. So what should you pick? If you'd ask me, I would recommend you go with a large diaphragm condenser. It's quite flexible with its use. Even though I mentioned that dynamic microphones are mostly favored for recording guitar amplifiers, it's very loud and distorted, you can actually do that with condenser mics as well. Also, there's a good chance that you already have a dynamic microphone at home. These, for example, are actually not really studio grade microphones. These are pretty much your ordinary karaoke microphones, and you can absolutely use them. They might not sound like a Shure SM57 or 58, but you'll be able to experiment with EQ anyway, so that should be fine. You're just starting off. You don't really need to buy all of the expensive gear out there. Don't be afraid to experiment and try things out yourself. If you like my content, hit that like button, click subscribe, and hit that bell notification to be one of the first people to be notified once new content is up. One more reminder, I stream on Twitch every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. EST, that's 5 p.m. Philippine time. Stay awesome, dudes. Rock and roll.